and welcome to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Ganglani. Again, I know it's been a while since we had our last episode, but our last episode with former Commissioner Noli Iala did pretty well. Comments, engagement, views, all of that. So if you guys follow the channel, because of that video, or if you are already following the channel and then watch that video, thank you so much. And of course, thanks to Noli for joining us on that. So we're back now with Simoun Redoblado, someone who is a familiar guest of this podcast, someone whose UAAP knowledge I trust, hence why we have him here often. And we're going to discuss some recent happenings in college basketball and maybe touch a little bit about the PBA draft, considering that we're getting closer and closer, and we have some names joining, some people to wonder who goes where, who fits which team. So, all of that and more. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. Okay, Simon, welcome back to the pod. Nice to have you here again. I have to say, man, I was in Thailand for about 8 days. Our episode with Noli, actually, I shot it there. And I've never been the when I go on vacation, I'm gonna turn off everything and just be on vacation mode kind of guy. In fact, my wife's number one complaint, well, God bless her soul, she didn't bring this up one time. And considering that she's currently pregnant, her not bringing this up, I give her props. But I just felt the energy sometimes. I mean, you feel the energy sometimes when they want to say something, but they're not saying it. She's like, really? You're on your phone? Really? You have to break news? Really? You have to record a podcast? Really have to do this while we're on vacation? But she just let it go. However, even after working on vacation, I came back and I felt even more rejuvenated. I think it's the extra walking when you're visiting another country. It gets your juices rolling. I was telling my wife this yesterday because we have been sleeping later than usual since coming back from Thailand. And her argument, or rather her reason for it, was Thailand is 1 hour behind. So if we're sleeping at 1 a.m. here in the Philippines, it's like when we were sleeping 12 a.m. in Bangkok. And I was like, I think all the walking turned our potential energy to kinetic energy, and our kinetic energy is trying to go back to potential energy. But anyway, I just have this extra juices, and that's why I was really looking forward to this episode with you because I feel like a lot's happened, a lot of developments are taking place. So let's start with the big news that dropped on Monday, August 25. Seven Gagate of the UP Fighting Maroons has officially moved to De La Salle University, going back to the educational institution where he became a prominent high school standout. We'll talk more about how this unfolded, but first, Simon, I want to get your thoughts on what this move means for Seven, for LaSalle, and for UP.
So first, the green, brother. Green is a shade color of both UP and the LaSalle. So shout out to everyone who is proud to be green at this very moment. What I think about Navs when I hear about Seven Gagate transferring to LaSalle is I think this will be good for his development long term because while obviously the Fighting Maroons are the defending champions from an individual performance standpoint, I think Seven saw what his good buddy Luis Pablo has blossomed into, even if Luis hasn't technically stepped back onto the UAAP hardcourt, but in the off season, in these preseason tournaments, I think he's seen what LaSalle has been able to do for Pablo in his 1 year of residency. And I think Seven could be looking forward to getting exactly what Luis has gotten over the past 12 months, and that is transitioning into the college game, especially from a big man standpoint. You see, Navs, I think Luis and Seven both had to make that crucial adjustment, going from the Greenies program to the Fighting Maroons program. And we saw that in their rookie year with UP. I think they struggled a bit in terms of imposing their will, imposing their skill set that they had back in LSGH. When they went up against the big boys in the seniors division. I think there was a bit of a struggle there. The physicality, the interior play, and now that Luis is displaying excellent footwork, great mobility, um, even perhaps trying to become an outside threat. I think Seven sees that. I think Seven wants that. And I genuinely want him to thrive from an individual standpoint. And let's see where he'll end up in terms of a growth standpoint once we get to season 89.
Fantastic. You hit it right in the money, actually. Seven, Luis, Ethan Allian, Santi Romero, Zamora, the LSGH boys have stayed close even after they parted ways following their high school careers in the NCAA. We know obviously that Seven, Luis, and Josh committed to the UP Fighting Maroons. Their careers have taken interesting turns since then, shall we say. And it's weird to say that considering that I feel like it was just yesterday that they committed, but it was actually more than 2 years ago now, right? When I posted that picture of the three of them with Coaches Goldwyn and Coach Tom Chua. So Luis spends 1 year at UP, is really a backup player, would get 3 or 4 minutes a game, maybe. Doesn't like it, ends up going back to DLSU. And we've seen the transformation, you're right. His body is leaned down. He's leaned down significantly. He is playing more of a wing position. You see him running the break, you see him ball handling, attacking from the perimeter. Josh has suffered two knee injuries that unfortunately has really sidetracked his career. Hopefully, he stays healthy entering this season. And if he makes the lineup, which I think he has a good chance of doing, we finally get to see him in the UAP. We're rooting for Josh because he didn't also play his last year of high school ball. And let's not forget that this is someone who, going into that season before he got injured, many thought would be the best player of LaSalle Green Hills. And that's interesting considering Gagate was a Mythical Five member, so was Pablo, and Pablo actually won MVP. Now, Seven, on the other hand, sparingly plays his first season with UP, played even less than Luis, I think, that first season at UP. I think his best UP moment came in a game where he got fouled and made 2 out of 2 from the free throw line. Actually, if I'm not mistaken. But that just goes to show how deep the UP roster they joined was. And then off season, he fractures his hand. He tries to recover in time for the UAP season, but he's not 100% as they're filling out the lineup. So rather than use a season of eligibility, which would be uncertain, they have him not part of the lineup and he spends time with Team B. And then he actually showed flashes of improvement in the offseason, in the preseason league, Pinoy Liga, a little bit in Japan. You saw someone who looked quicker, who looked more explosive, would fake 3-point shot attempts, drive to the rim, and because of his combination of size and length, it would take him 2 steps to get to the rim and he could finish, especially if it wasn't a larger defender trying to impede his way. But when you look at the roster construction that they had, was he guaranteed a lot of playing time this season? Probably not. He was looking more at the backup role, spot minutes here or there. Also, you have to consider the improvement of Sean Alter and Gianni Stevens. And he looks at Luis, his best friend, and he sees that Luis is not exactly a star yet for the college program of LaSalle like he was in high school, but he's in a better situation, right? Because he has a consistent role, he's getting playing time, he's confident in his abilities, he starts to look more like the Luis that we saw in high school. And the rest of his friends are there, like we mentioned, Alian, Romero, and company. So there was that feeling of comfort in the idea of going back to LaSalle for seven. And ultimately, in many cases, where you're comfortable, which goes against the popular concept of you gotta be uncomfortable to succeed, but sometimes where you're comfortable gives you the best position to bring out the best in you. And I found it interesting that when I spoke to Seven this morning on the phone before I released the article, he said he's looking to regain his confidence and he feels LaSalle is the place where he can do that. And we're starting to see a trend of a lot of players saying that. It was Pablo, right? then it was Mason, and now it's Seven. So is it the program Mixaitona and Vito are running? Maybe, although we have to give credit to Coach De Mayo of UP because he runs a similar strength and conditioning program. Is it because of Topex? A lot of these players do mention Coach Topex when they say why they want to transfer. Is it, in Seven's case, maybe the familiarity of being back in the LaSalle system? I think that was very important too. And also, one key development, which I reported late last night, Sunday night, Renren Ritualo, who was the LSGH head coach of Luis and Seven and Ethan that year that they made the finals, is an assistant coach for DLSU now. He's been hired for one specific purpose that had many LaSalle fans last night thanking the heavens. We'll get into that later. So, when you take into account that familiarity, the friendships, being with his bros, and being back in that LaSalle system where he has the chance to get more playing time and for in his opinion, you can see why he made the move.
Now, if I were to start connecting the dots, Navs, okay, I think this move benefits LaSalle in the long term because obviously he's going to have to serve a year of residency. And this benefits, sort of benefits, but I think the better term is like helps crystallize things for UP in the short term. Okay, this is Mike Phillips' final playing year, and I believe Mason is gonna end up playing at least one more year, right, after this one. But obviously, losing Motor Mike will be a huge blow to the front court of LaSalle after the season. So when you have Pablo and now Gagate in your back pocket post Phillips era, then that gives the LaSalle front court more beef, more talent, and still a high ceiling despite the absence of what we are now projecting to be, the best player gonna be in season 88. As for UP though, again, if we were to connect the dots, Snavs, I think the moment UP got Palanca from the NU high school program, I think that's when some of these UP bigs started to sort of have second thoughts, maybe particularly someone like Seven, who on paper was basically going to be a third string center behind Gani and Sean Alter, who is someone who has, as you've said, for the past 2 years, shown glimpses of the tremendous ceiling over the preseason. So when you think about the rotation of Gani, Alter, Ruka, and Mark Belmonte, and now Palanca, who I think has tremendous finesse that matches, that might be sacrilege, that might be close to what Carl Tomay was displaying in his rookie year. I think Seven was looking at his prospects and saying, is this going to be more of the same? Limited minutes again, instead of, like you said, like you quoted in your article, playing the way that he used to, but precisely because he was given the opportunity and the minutes to even have an opportunity to play uh, excellent basketball. So we could look at it as a win-win prospect for all the parties involved. And yes, it will be interesting to see Pablo reunite with his good buddy Gagate next year.
Excellent thoughts as always. And for those who are wondering, Seven has 2 years of eligibility left. He was lined up in 86, was not lined up in 87. 2 years taken away from eligibility for transferring, which now means he has 2 years left beginning season 89. Pablo has 3 seasons left, including the upcoming season 88. So they're going to end up also finishing their college careers together unless one or the other leaves early. Now, just some backstory about how, from my perspective at least, this happened. A few days ago, I got a tip from a friend. And one of my favorite ways that people start sentences are the words, "Hey, did you hear about?" Oh, when I hear that, I'm like, ah, okay, okay, we're in business. So I had a friend reach out to me a few days ago, and he was like, "Hey, did you hear about Seven Gagate going to DLSU?" I'm like, "What?" And then immediately I went to work, started reaching out to people I know. It took a few days. A lot of people were very tight-lipped about it. I reached out to some friends from UP as well, and most people were very tight-lipped. No one really wanted to go on the record for obvious reasons. And then this morning, I was able to finally get in touch with Seven, and he was ready. He had a prepared statement, but he also gave All Star Magazine an exclusive. And this were some of what he said. I asked him, was reuniting with your teammates a factor? Of course, factor yun. But yung pinaka gusto ko is what they offer me. And what they offer me is opportunity and confidence. What's your main goal for returning to LaSalle? Ang gusto ko is to win and bumalik ang confidence. Yan ang hinahanap ko. What excites you the most? He said, what excites me the most is the culture of LaSalle. They want to win. And of course, Coach Topex and his program. I want to improve myself. I want to be better as a person and a player. My old teammates are there. The chemistry is there. The adjustments won't be so big. Was Renren Ritualo being part of the coaching staff a factor in your decision? That was a factor because we know Coach Renren was our coach in high school. I want to play again like I did back then. There's the key. That's what he wants. He wants to be the Seven Gagate that he used to be. And he was very respectful to UP, by the way. He made a statement, in his statement, rather, he thanked Coach Goldwyn and UP for giving him a chance to be in a college program after high school. But now he has come to the mindset where to go back to being the player he was, he felt he needed to go to LaSalle. And when you look at the pieces in LaSalle, his old high school head coach, his old high school teammates, and just being back in that LaSalle system for him, he mentioned that too. That those were the key factors. Will it turn out to be the best for his career? If we look at the trajectory of Pablo's career so far, it seems to be a good choice for him. So I would lean towards yes, but we know in college basketball, everything is always unpredictable, and we'll see. My question for you now, Simon, is who benefits the most from UP after this move? Is there someone who, because you can also look at it the other way, where okay, does this mean Dom Sarmiento of Lazal is now not going to be in the lineup again? No, sorry, Sarmiento might be in the lineup this year, but if he doesn't perform this year, will he keep his spot next season with Kagate coming in? Or is there enough openings there because Phillips will be leaving? And by the way, Raven Gonzalez left after last season too. There are always those players we don't think are going to leave and they end up leaving, right? But in the case for UP, I felt Gagate was going to get a roster spot. Maybe not a lot of minutes, but I felt he was on the way to getting a roster spot. So who does this give an opportunity to? Is there someone who was on the fence for you of making the team that now could probably make it because Gagate is not there? Or is this more of a the minutes that we're gonna go to Gagate, you can now distribute it more to the other big men and have them play more minutes?
Listen, man, if I'm one LA Andres, I think I might be taking Seven out to a steak dinner or something. And that's not a knock on Andres' talent. What I'm saying is, in the perpetually clogged, what am I saying? Perpetually clogged roster of the Fighting Maroons these days, unless you have gone out and scored a bunch of points on a consistent basis in limited minutes, going into every season, there's no guarantee that you're even going to make the lineup because, quite frankly, it's a murderer's row, even all the way to Team B. So I think UP fans and I were like wondering, is this going to be another year in which we were gonna have like the team was gonna have to make a decision between um, Josh Coronel and LA Andres and Seven for that matter. So now that Seven has decided to move back to LaSalle, I think Andres can slot into that reserve center spot. Granted, of course, that he'll be now facing the, you want to call it a career dilemma, career hindrance, whatever the case may be, but you'll have to get in line behind Gani Stevens and Sean Alter. But still, I think Andres will be given that slot, and he'll be reminding everyone why UP sought him out of, I believe it was the Middle East, right? And isn't there another backstory there,
Well, I
Nabs?
mean, LaSalle recruited him first, Coach Derek
Exactly. Sorry.
Pumarin,
Yeah.
and then he left
Um.
LaSalle after Coach Derek was no longer the coach.
Okay. So let me rephrase that. I think he's gonna get a chance to prove why UP was eager to give him that opportunity after initially spending time with LaSalle, right? So I stand corrected. It was LaSalle who sought him out there. Um, he's athletic, he's big, and I think those attributes allow him to fit more into the mold of what a UAAP big man should be. Final note on Seven Nabs. I mean, if I were him, I would think of developing that skill set of being a UAAP 3. And what I mean by that is putting the ball on the floor more, getting those handles nice and tight. And he was trying to knock down those jumpers and those preseason tournaments, knock them down on a more consistent basis, my friend. And Coach Topex, I've said it before, he's a player's coach, but of course you have to earn his trust. You do those things, show those handles, shoot on a consistent basis. Of course, display your impose your will on the defensive end, protect the interior, protect the perimeter even. And I think Seven will have a lot of minutes to play in season 89.
So just a quick rundown, real quick, of the season 87 championship winning roster of UP. Here are the guys and the team from last season that are no longer in the team this year. Denzel Walker, Joel Yumar Kagulangan, JD Kagulangan, Mamay Kagulangan to some. By the way, read their feature in him on All-Star Magazine. Francis Lopez, Sean Torculas, Quentin Milora Brown, and Kingsley Ododo. Now, there's one guy who was in last year's team who's still in this year's team, and that's Mark Belmonte. And he's the guy who I think can benefit the most from Seven no longer being in the roster. Because I look at Belmonte as a four, like I did Gagate, who can occasionally play the three. A lot of people are saying this means the door is open for Palanca. Palanca is talented. He's a great rookie. There's a reason UP really wanted him, and Coach Jeff was unhappy when UP got him from the NE program. Or not got from the NE, if you know what I'm saying. But you guys know what I'm saying. um, where was that? Just my train of thought real quick there.
Yeah, and Palanca.
Palanca. Yes, yes. I I know Palanca's good, but I don't think he's gonna be immediately that guy that comes in and is one of those rookie sensations who's going to win games for your team. He'll contribute to winning from time to time when he gets playing time, but he's not like, okay, this is a guy automatically he's going to put up numbers immediately in his first season in the league. It might take up to his second season or his third season, who knows, right? So it's Belmonte because Belmonte is entering his third season with the Fighting Maroons. He has been with the program for a while now. The talent is there, the size is there, the physical tools are there. And every preseason, there's a week or two where everyone gets excited about Mark Belmonte. Oh, Belmonte, get ready. This is the year. And then the UAP comes, and there are some games he'll play well, some games he won't play, and some games where he's on the court, but you don't see him being aggressive. So does this now mean that Belmonte is more of a green light because he'll get the minutes for seven? Because to me, Gianni and Alter are still like more of those traditional five guys. But Belmonte and Gagate were the guys you could play in the four or the three. I hate using positional numbers, but I meant more of the guys who can play both inside and out. So yes, Palanca probably gets the roster spot now, but I think in terms of opportunity, it's more Belmonte.
The only thing I can think of now that you mentioned Belmonte is that moment in that semifinal matchup in Phil Oil when Belmonte busted out that move in the mid range and ended up shooting over Pablo and swishing it. And at that precise moment, the commentator said, "Binibelat pa ni Mark Belmonte si Luis Pablo." And then the replays eventually showed him like sticking his tongue out at Pablo. So, uh, it's one of those moments where like, hey man, is there a bit of a hostility? Is there a bit of a bad blood here between you? Anyway, I digress. It's just that passion, that competitive fire, those juices flowing out of these guys. But yeah,
I actually think
um,
those who are more close are the ones who trash talk each other more because they can
mm,
probably just laugh about it after. Or maybe there's something there. I'm not saying there's nothing there, but based from my experience, it seems like the friends are the ones who trash talk each other more. Anyway, go on. Sorry, Simon.
yeah, I'm not trying to recall if you trash talk me during our run. UP Community Court. So so you didn't trash talk me then. So does that
Not
mean
not yet because that was the first time we played against each other.
yeah,
So the
right.
first time I can't go a little too crazy, but once we played with each other a few times, then I might hit you with a little like something something. I did
For
say
those
those. We did play at
for
UP Community Court, and I was like, Simon, you gotta protect home court, man.
Yeah, I did, and we won. I won 3 out of 4, but that was because I was playing behind you. Anyway, this man, if anyone's trying to scout this man, okay, in these runs, he likes to develop his perimeter game first, and then when he does that, he's gonna barrel through the middle of the lane and call foul like 4 times out of 5, even if it's his elbows flying. But anyway, this is not about me and him playing. Yeah.
Hey, don't forget the floater.
That float game. Anyway, yeah. It's a nice. I think this is also a nice reflection of how the big man position has evolved through the years, and this has been written about. This has been spoken about a lot. But we're talking about young big men playing supposedly the 4 and 5 position because we hate position filled basketball, right? But we're talking about big men who are now putting the ball on the floor and shooting from the outside on the regular. And it's not even that it's expected, but it's more like you don't do this, you don't survive, you don't thrive, you don't win championships in this league. So I'm very excited about where these young big men, not only in the college level, but also in the high school level, dare I say, even at the grade school level, take this game to new heights in the coming years.
A lot of talent, that's for sure. You have a lot of guys to be excited about. A lot of guys to watch, even girls, guys and girls, the men and the women's basketball divisions, just talent and skills everywhere. And you see it with their social media posts. They're working hard. We have skill trainers, um, m- more advanced strength and conditioning coaches using science and data and research from all over the world. It's a great time to be a basketball player, at least more than ever, in my opinion. And also, like, if you're a great shooter, you're gonna get a spot in the team. You are, with how important the long ball has become. All right, let's get to some questions from our community. Okay, first question is from my sister Nicole. Who is your favorite sister? One answer only. You know she's right, Simon. There's only one answer to this question, and that answer is I plead the fifth. I will not answer that question with a specific name for obvious reasons. Okay, updated UAP power rankings. Ooh, give me your 1 to 8 real quick right now.
DLSU, UP, Ateneo, NU, UST, that's 5, right?
Yeah.
Uh, FEU. No, wait. What the hell am I saying? Sorry, I'm just regurgitating the same thing. I don't want to be wrong again, Navs. Take two. DLSU, UP, Ateneo, Adamson. Stop sleeping on these people, man. Stop sleeping on the Soaring Falcons of San Marcelino. They are going to make the Final Four, and this is not me hopping on the bandwagon, but I'm just saying over the past 3 years, they've made the Final Four twice. So, yeah, I think the Soaring Falcons, the defending International Invitational Asia Basket, I'm butchering that name of that tournament, champions, I think are gonna be competing for gonna be competing in the Final Four and possibly have a chance to contend for the championship. I said it.
Huh. So who's your 5 to 8?
5 to 8.
You don't have
Okay,
UST making the final four right now?
I don't. I'm sorry. So UST, NU,
Oh, that NU at
NU,
6 kind of gives you some doubts in the back of your head, huh?
UST, NU, because I'm gonna have arrows sticking out of my back later. UST, NU, FEU, UE. So quick power rankings, and if you're gonna ask me to explain why, aside from Adamson, I plead the fifth.
Okay, let's get to the other questions here. Biggest swing factors for each team from the Gagate move. We talked about that earlier, but thank you, Nicolo, for sending that. Any impending transfers on the horizon from Paulo? Simon, what are you hearing? What moves are happening? What are you hearing, my guy?
Oh, okay. Sources told me that there are people whispering and getting on video calls and conferences. If I had to tell you, you have to keep it confidential because there are many people prowling around, the online community. But I keep my sources close to the chest. Snitches get stitches. Is that a good impression of you, or did we just switch roles? Freaky
So
Friday, Monday.
it's Freakier Friday now. By the way, that was a good movie. That's so worth the watch. It's no Emmy-winning movie, but it's still a pretty decent movie. Although you know what, I haven't watched Weapons yet. Man, I really want to watch Weapons. I'm waiting for it to come out on streaming and have like a little horror watch party. We have Conjuring coming out, and you guys will be hearing about that on my podcast. So when before I posted the Kagate news earlier, 1 minute, literally 1 minute before I hit send on social media platforms, I just sent Simon the picture just to see his reaction before I hit publish. And oh my god, it was so funny. I wish I could screenshot and put it in the screen right now. But
Please don't. I have a reputation to protect.
yeah, yeah, he's a teacher after all. Not very teacher-like, shall we say? um, okay, but to answer Paula's question, I'm expecting one more college basketball move this week. I'll leave it at that for now. PBA draft stuff though, more on the horizon. Let's see. Tonyo, come on, man. Can't be talking about that, but nice question though. Let's see. Anyone trying? Okay, see another transfer question. Our community loves the college transfer news. We'll save that for when they're about to move, if they move. Okay, here from Miles. Do you think UP's final 16 is now set in stone, or are there incoming last-minute surprises? If UP recruits anyone, I feel, or rather, I'm guessing it's gonna be for season 89 onward. Do you think the final 16 for season 88 is set in stone, Simon?
I just said so. Coronel, Andres, I'm pretty sure at this point their roster spots are secure. Palanca as well.
How interesting would it be if Josh actually benefits the most from his friend leaving, right?
I was trying to put myself because someone in the group chat was asking earlier, like, so what does Josh feel now that the two dudes who were in that picture that you posted basically left for greener uh, for a greener environment.
Pastures.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to go with the connotations of that because people are gonna think I'm anyway. Um, from what I could see in Chico Briones' vlogs, right? He and Chico have developed this friendship. They've been rooming together in these international stints that they've had. So it's not like Seven and Luis were the only friends that Josh had there. But yeah, um, with the two nuclear weapons on the LaSalle side by the name of Jacob Cortez and Kian Baclaan, uh, maybe Coronel gets 5 minutes in the finals because now we're presuming that they're going to be meeting in the finals again. Maybe Coronel gets a chance to strut his defensive chops and try to limit those two boy. I'm not saying it's an easy task, but uh, if he wants to show up on the big stage and really prove that Josh Coronel is back, then defend either Baclaan or Cortez.
Hmm. I think that's too tough to ask for someone playing in his first season. These are veteran season point guards. And the speed factor, I think, would put Josh at a disadvantage. But if Josh can be that utility guy, score off offensive rebounds, push the pace, run out in transition, I think that's the pathway for him to earning more playing time. And of course, from Mr. Ooh, looks like the Varsitarian just reported that Nixon Cabanero has left the UST Tiger Cubs. That's interesting. Anyway, from Mr. Fran Lu, possible X Factor players to watch out this upcoming UAAP season. Let's do two each. You start.
Any team?
Any team.
Koji Benaflor.
I like it.
I don't dare call him a freshman or rookie, whatever. I said it in the article I wrote about the Asia Basket and Philadelphia Finals. That guy is gonna be a problem. Throwback to the days of Kevin Fitter and Aljon Mariano. I think this young man has all the makings of that traditional. You see, years and years ago, UST and FEU, I would say, used to specialize in that deadly wing player with size that's just a matchup nightmare. Could take you on the low block, could punish you from the perimeter. So yeah, now that he's trained with one Steph Curry, who knows how Koji Beneflor has widened his skill set. So sky's the limit for this guy. So your turn before as I think of my next one.
Sean Toano. We know how good Kimani Ladi is. We know Ateneo has the potential to be not just pretty good, but really good based on the potential and the talent. But if Tuano can elevate himself past what he was last season and be more of that go-to slashing threat that gets to the free throw line, knock down his free throws, and maybe knock down a few three-pointers here or there, that would be very helpful. I think Sean Tuano is an X factor. Who's your next X factor?
Someone from Adamson, AJ Fransman. Um, another guy who has, tremendous potential. So I have this preference for wing players, right? If he develops his shooting, if he refines that, he'll be an even bigger triple threat because I think now that teams have seen and scouted him, they'll be anticipating his drives to the basket. So I think to give, defenders some more things to think about. Develop that outside shot further and go beyond that. Develop that mid-range shot. So yeah, for him to be a three-level scorer would be a nice thing going for the Soaring Falcons.
So my next X factor isn't the player but a coach. It's Renren Ritualo. And this goes back to the topic we discussed earlier. Renren Ritualo has been brought in to fix one particular issue for the Del Sol Green Archers. That's free throw shooting. How bad has the free throw shooting been? Well, you just gotta go about 20 years, give or take, to see how much this has haunted the Green Archers faithful. Last year, LaSalle lost to UP by 4 in the UAAP Finals, Game 3 for the championship. In that 4-point loss, LaSalle missed 16 out of 28 free throws. In the semis of the Phil Oil, where LaSalle blew a double-digit lead and lost to UP by 5, they went 23 out of 43 from the free throw line. And that is just a small drop in the pool of games that have gone the other way for DLSU because they missed free throws. And when it comes to clutch shooting, when it comes to reliability in the big moments, one guy, arguably head and shoulders above everyone else who's ever worn the LaSalle uniform, it's the guy whose jersey's hanging up there from the rafters. At least going back to the UAP Final Four era, because we can go back to the 70s, 80s NCAA days of DLSU, but we're referring to the Final Four era, which started in 93 or 94, if I'm not mistaken. Renren has been brought in for that purpose. This low-key also helps DLSU with their elevation program from the LSGH high school program to the DLSU college program. That's something that they have really wanted to fix. Ironically, after Pablo, Gagate, and Coronel left, now they have two of them back. Remember, Baclan was also a Zobel product before going to UST, then NU, and back to DLSU. Jacob Cortez, before spending time with UST, then San Bedo, was in LaSalle Green Hills too, and now he's back. They a lot of the DLSU managers and diehard LaSalle fans, they were very much not happy, and they articulated that when their homegrowns were leaving them. Because to them, it's like our homegrowns don't leave us. And that's something they wanted to fix immediately. And if you look at what they've done the last few years, they've taken steps to try and find a way to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, for now, it seems to be working. But Ritualo, when I asked him, how are you going to fix the free throw situation? He said, I'm not going to fix the mechanics. These guys know how to shoot. They have good forms. They have good arcs, all of that. It's mental. And it sounds like a cliche, but to him, that's the key. It's mental. The drums, the noise, when they miss prior shots, it gets into their heads. Someone commented today in my Facebook post that Ritualo's a psychology major. Well, you know what? Ironically enough, that's kind of what he's trying to do here. Psychology, fix the wiring in the brains of the players and make them believe that they can make free throws at a high level, and this curse does not to be something that just goes without saying. It's something that they can erase. And how good is free throw shooting? Game 3 of last year's finals, UP went 14 out of 17 from the free throw line, while LaSalle went 12 out of 28. LaSalle took 11 more free throws than UP did, and UP still made 2 more free throws than LaSalle did. And a 4-point game, if you believe in math and numbers, that can make a whole lot of difference. All right, Simon, the Zoo PBA here, real quick. By our friend JP Manahan's count, there should be about 26 applicants now who have officially submitted their names that we know of, at least. All Star, if I'm not mistaken, was first to report 25 out of 26. Now, there are two big names that we're still waiting on to see if they will join the draft. That's Juan Gomez del Liaño, who has had a very interesting basketball journey, shall we say, and Jason Brickman, who was playing for Abra in the MPBL. He's played for Strong Group and is a winning point guard in all levels that he's played at. He knows how to play in big game situations. He's steady. He's a vet. He's a smart player. At the very least, you know that Jason Brickman is not going to lose you games. So, two questions. One, from the current list that we know have applied so far, including those from the NCAA, those who are still playing in the NCAA, ironically enough, the UAP and the MPBL, who are your top prospects so far? And my second question is, if Brickman and Gomez Del Llano join this draft, how high would they catapult those rankings?
I'll answer the second question first. If both Juan GDL and Jason Brickman join the 2025 PBA draft, I think Juan and Jason will be the two considerations for no less than that top spot owned by Terra Firma. From a basketball standpoint, I think ultimately you'd have to go with Juan because he has the higher ceiling precisely because of his youth. I was disappointed last year when Kalen Chongson didn't go perhaps as early as I think he would because he was an established offensive weapon, an established, well-traveled international vet. But the thing is, he was upwards of 30. So I think that sort of soured some PBA teams on him. Jason Brickman, for the love of God, Navs, has been the subject of PBA mock drafts for years and years on end, including mine, even when I didn't get to have mine published on an outlet like All Star. And people have been waiting on this guy to throw his name into the hat, and there have been times when he came close, but no cigar. So, unfortunately, I think that's sort of going to work against him, but I'm gonna reserve my full thoughts on this until I write my full mock draft for All Star. But I think one goes one, and Brickman will not be picked later than three. That's
Mm.
where I'll leave it for now. As for those confirmed names, I'm looking at someone like Will Gosum, whom I was already waiting for coming off that huge year that he had with College of St. Benilde. former NCAA MVP. I think he's going to be taken off the draft board pretty early as well. I'm looking at LJ Gonzalez. He should have been in the PBA yesterday or even the week before. Um, and I'll throw in Christian Manaytay there as well. I think Christian Manaytay has the potential to go top five, even when if I'm already manifesting it, even if Juan and Brickman throw their names into the hat. What do Gozum, Gonzalez, and Manaytay have in common? They're all shifty. Ang kukulit nila, ang lilikot nilang gumalaw. You look at where they were at earlier in their career. I believe Gozum even had a cup of tea somewhere in Quezon City earlier in his career, right? But you look at where Manaytay, Gonzalez, and Gozum were at earlier in their career. Ganun naman talaga yung trajectory. Yung skill set mo mas limited pa. By the time they were in their senior or their super senior years, hindi mo alam kung kakaliwa o kakanan, didiretso, magpo-pull up. So, complete package na sila. Hinog na and I think PBA teams will be excited to go over these players' attributes.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the comments I've been seeing from my post announcing who's joining the draft is, wala naman talent, hindi naman magaling, ang shallow ng draft. That's not true. That is not true. It might not have the main headliners. It doesn't have a QMB, it doesn't have a Mike Phillips. And by the way, the PBA asking the UAP to allow their players, I feel like they had one person in mind for why they wanted that. And ironically, I don't think Mike would apply for the draft even if he could right now. I don't think so. But this is not a bad draft class. Again, there's no headliners. There's no like earth-shattering films like a Stephen Holt unless something comes up last minute. But you don't think Gozum would be a good PBA player? If not right away, somewhere down the line, he would be. You don't think Chris Kuhn would be a solid big guard option to have in your lineup? He would be. If Juan Gomez de Liaño joins the draft, he's number one in my book. He is an outstanding player. He's had a few unfortunate turns in his career since that magical UP finals run in 2018, but he's also won a D-League MVP. He is a pick and roll master when he has his game going on. He's a savant. He knows how to use modern offenses. He can shoot, he can drive. You'd have to take him number one. And Jason Brickman, I get that the 33-year-old age tag is something that might turn off, especially rebuilding teams. But if I'm a contending team and I find a way to trade up for a draft pick, a high draft pick, SMC teams, or even MVP teams, you don't think Brickman is someone they'd love to have? They would absolutely love to have him. I mean, if TNT is looking at having a point guard post Castro or as Castro recovers from injury, Brickman's a pretty good option, right? You can have heading more of the off ball shooter role that he could thrive at rather than playing point guard all the time, too. I mean, it's a good class. And even someone like Ketevis, I don't know if he'll go in the first round, but you don't think you can plug and play him and be like, Sean, go in 8 minutes, 9 minutes a game and just hound the living hell out of another player on defense and like bother them? You put Sean in the right role, he could be a useful player. Like, there are some talents here. And remember, just because some players don't play good in college, that does not mean they won't be good pros. Some guys end up thriving more as pros than they did as college players. I think CJ Austria could be helpful to a team. I think Josh David could eventually find a home somewhere. Jake Gaspay might just be an athletic guy for CSB, but in the PBA, if you put him in the right spot, he might be an energy guy off the bench. Again, there are no headliners. There are no guys that are immediately gonna be like mythical five players in the PBA, except for one. Maybe, and that's even still a maybe. But there are guys here who I think can stay in the PBA for a long time, and I don't think it's a shallow class at all.
Have you seen highlights of Wilfred Nado from Pacific University?
Oh,
This
that's one more guy, yeah.
This guy is a quick trigger, and after Yang Giao basically told everyone you're not paying attention last year when he got Felix Lemeti. Okay? And it turned out to be such a firecracker of a player, a tremendous shooter, high basketball IQ. Ngayon pa lang, magho-homework na tayo. We're gonna do our homework, okay? So, Wilfred Nado is a potential first rounder. I would not be surprised if he gets taken in the first round precisely because of his outside shooting.
And that Isaiah Africa guy.
Oh, look, this guy has his own YouTube channel. So, syempre, may napakasaya ng buhay ng mga scouts ngayon no, Navs. Etong mga players na to, may kanya-kanya ng social media platforms, may DIY mixtapes na. I say Africanos mixtape begins with him taking charges, blocking shots, whereas others would start their mixtapes with, okay, this is a nice dunk. Oh, I swished this 30-footer. This guy began his mixtape with him taking charges. Now, I'm thinking, syempre, yabang naman ito, syempre. Of course, you would do something like that. But then I thought, how are you even able to call footage multiple instances of you taking charges? It means this is something that he didn't do for show. Talagang ginagawa niya to. So, yeah, Africano is a modern type of bruiser na PBA fans should watch out for.
There are two names that I haven't announced yet because their agent has told me to announce at the same time that they do. But these are two guys who I think will also be first or second round picks. So watch out for that. And there are two names that people are waiting on, and I'm still waiting on if they're joining. So hopefully we find out soon because August 29 is the deadline and that is coming shortly. Simon, thank you as always for joining me, man. I appreciate it. It's great to have you on the podcast. To those who checked out this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, follow, leave a review on Spotify. Tell your friends about this podcast. We are working on hopefully getting new UAP Commissioner Jai Reyes on this podcast soon. So hopefully in the upcoming episodes we get to hear about him and what his plans are for the UAP. Mic'd up refs. Some people in the UAP told me they're considering that. What would that be like? You know, the refs on broadcast mic'd up trying to explain a call. I would love to see that. I think that's a very progressive move by the UAP. I would love to see it. Simon, why are you laughing, man? This is serious business, bro. What is so funny? What is funny?
We're gonna give a shout out to our friends, the Boleros. Okay, Gab, Sam, and Maui. They mentioned it in one of the recent episodes. And I think it was the Sultan of Sando, Gab, who said, kung magma-mic up refs tayo, Nabs, hindi pwedeng papatay-patay pag magsasalita. Dapat eloquent. I don't have to use highfalutin terms. Kailangan malinaw. Kasi alangan namang mic up refs, you go to the monitor. Si ano, yung ano, inano niya yung ano, tapos ano, offensive foul. Come on, man. Just tell me what
You
the
know what?
first
You
one
know what I would
was.
really love to see is the refs. You know when if they're wearing the mics and they talk to Coach Tab or Coach Pido or Coach Topex or Coach Goldred, Coach Nash, all the other coaches, Coach Jeff, Sean, and Coach Chris. I want to hear what the coaches say. I hope they also play what the coaches are telling the refs because that would be must see television.
5 letters. MTRCB.
Simone, I appreciate you, man. We'll have you back on the podcast. Have a good Monday night, buddy.
Deuces. Thank you.